what Charlie Kirk stood for in life, I feel very strongly should be condemned all through the rest of my life. And I deplore his assassination. But in the
Yes.
instant of his death, from the second it was clear he was dead,
Right.
we have seen an abuse of power and an outbreak of insanity. The tactics of the mob,
Yeah.
firings, capitulations, all of which are based on a lie, which is that if you oppose Trump and you oppose the things that Charlie Kirk stood for, then you are part of collective murder conspiracy. That you, like the senator said, Marshall, the libs killed Charlie Kirk. No, the gunman killed Charlie Kirk.
That's right. And just to put a pin in that for a second and hit the pause button, I mean, what you just said right there is far more harsh and in many ways fair, I think, than what Jimmy Kimmel said and what he got fired for. And I just, Steve, the thing that you caught me, and we talked about this on the phone the other day, there are historic parallels to political movements trying to capitalize on a tragedy like this.
And the Nazis did this. The guy's name is Horst Wessel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Horst Wessel was a pimp who was murdered by a communist. He was a stormtrooper, and he wrote a marching song that became the German national anthem. And the Nazis staged elaborate rallies and rituals around this. The pogrom known as the Kristallnacht followed the assassination of a Nazi official in Paris. And so the language that you're hearing of the administration and targeting every transgender person in the country as being a terrorist, when you target the most vulnerable populations, people that hold the least amount of power, right? And you blame them, you scapegoat them, what that makes you is a Nazi. And so we're hearing legitimate Nazi rhetoric from Stephen Miller and from others, and all of it is built on a foundation that if you oppose Donald Trump, you are part of a conspiracy that killed Charlie Kirk and you're a terrorist.
Well, hello again, America. I started out here to express my opinion on a question I had put to myself and to you, the audience, on whether or not a fascist majority Supreme Court will save or bury our democracy. And at the end of the day, my conclusion based on the evidence is that it will not. Just as the Nuremberg judges had not in Nazi Germany. Democracy has been truly thrown into the garbage bins of time and also flushed right down the illustrated toilets of our republic. However, events have overtaken me, and now I need to discuss more of a melange of subject matter that I had intended. Some of it Charlie Kirk's disgusting ideologies, some of it free speech in principle, some of it on using tragic circumstances and events to foment anger and hatred and violence against Trump's opponents, both real and imagined. Charlie Kirk's widow first came before the cameras not as a mourner, not as a grieving widow, but as an advocate for his ideologies and the actions he undertook and asked others to undertake with him, and vowed to carry on his work with a vengeance, a tear in her eye, then anger and rally language. Just listen to her speech.
Important, most important one of all. The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love.
So what was the work of Charlie Kirk? Why so deserving of Trump's Medal of Freedom and the state burial? Let me read out his opinions and you be the judge. Initially critical of the evangelical right, Kirk later shifted to Christian nationalism, white supremacy, advocating a Christian form of government. Whatever happened to the Establishment Clause of the United States freaking Constitution? He was a key ally of Donald Trump. Kirk espoused a variety of conservative stances, including opposition to abortion, gun control, DEI programs, and LGBT rights. The Sunday before his 26th birthday, Mr. Kirk took to the stage of McCoy's church, Godspeed Calvary Chapel. He preached against the spread of atheism and warned that universities were dangerous places that teach women false promises. And I don't know what that even means, except that women should be subjugated to the will of men. Further, on civil rights and racism, Trump believed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a destructive force in American politics, calling its passage a mistake that he said has been turned into an anti-white weapon. Judge for yourself. He also blamed the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. for the law and was highly critical of the slain civil rights leader, calling him a, quote, awful person. Mr. Kirk said he desired a colorblind society, but blamed the veneration of Dr. King for what he saw as America's fixation on race. Mr. Kirk was also a staunch opponent of affirmative action and was highly critical of the Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, calling her a quote-unquote diversity hire who wasn't qualified to serve on the highest court. But Alito was, right? Clarence Thomas was, right? Kavanaugh was, right? His repudiation of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, known as DEI, stretched to comments many denounced as racist. In 2024, he said, quote, "If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, quote, boy, I hope he's qualified," unquote. Is this the movement that Mrs. Kirk, purportedly in mourning and speaking out for the first time, referring to her devotion to her late husband's causes? Is this it? Yes. Listen to her.
Know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment. And one of Charlie's greatest talents was his ability, this phenomenal ability to choose great people to follow him.
The good men do is interred with their bones. The evil lives long after them. Is this the movement that we're talking about? Now, watch her second appearance at the Nazi rally in Arizona, where she does a 180 degree and changes her tone to strict mourning and forgiveness. Who on earth coached her? They didn't like her first speech. They had her play the grieving widow. Now, Mr. Kirk was also repeatedly accused of anti-Semitism, including by his fellow conservatives. He was a proponent of quote-unquote replacement theory, a once fringe conspiracy theory positing that Jews are trying to replace white Americans with non-white immigrants. That ideology motivated the gunman who killed 11 worshippers at the Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018. Mr. Kirk went further. He also accused Jewish philanthropists of fomenting anti-whiteness by supporting liberal anti-racism causes like the Black Lives Matter movement. Quote unquote, the philosophical foundation of anti-whiteness has been largely financed by Jewish donors in the country, unquote, he said on his show in 2023. Kirk called Islam a danger to the United States, railing against what he saw as the religion's conquest values that seek to take over land and territory. Quote unquote, America has freedom of religion, of course, but we should be frank, he said in April. Large, dedicated Islamic areas are a threat to America. Leading up to the mayoral primary in New York City, he paired a mention of Zohran Mamdani, who is Muslim and won the Democratic nomination, with references to Al-Qaeda and 9/11, seeking to connect him with a terrorist attack. The social post drew accusations of Islamophobia. Quote unquote, America's largest city was attacked by the radical Islam 24 years ago, and now a similar form of that pernicious force is poised to capture City Hall, Mr. Kirk said of Mr. Mamdani on X in June. Moving on to free speech. Mr. Kirk was a well-declared supporter of free speech, his free speech, and Turning Point USA was known for its free speech advocacy. where it suited them, of course. The group was known for placing giant rubber beach balls on campuses, inviting students to comment in a symbolic way on exercising their free speech rights. In several instances, Mr. Kirk has used the First Amendment to sue universities that tried to block his presence. Critics have argued that Mr. Kirk's promotion of free speech was tinged with hypocrisy, pointing to Turning Point USA's quote-unquote professor watch list, in which students were asked to list professors with leftist positions. Now, I am an absolute advocate for freedom of speech, even Mr. Kirk's, even when it's filled with hate and misrepresentation, white supremacy, racism. And as Sharon Bond put it, Kirk used his megaphone to amplify far-right voices and conspiracy theories. He made false claims about COVID, described the passage of the Civil Rights Act as a mistake, and promoted disproven allegations of election fraud. That's Charlie Kirk.